Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Gen AI University Scale with AI Summit. Welcome. I'm so happy to have all of you here. I just love these summits because we have been having a lot of conversation. I know Darby included, we've been attending tons of conferences and things like that. And AI not only is changing the game, but the game behind AI is also changing. And so I'm super excited for this first session to kick us off, where we will be joined with Darby himself, the founder of Gen AI University and of the Scale with AI Summit, and a special guest today, Todd Wall, who is absolutely amazing. I'm such a fangirl, and Todd has a really unique background that I know Darby is going to be sharing with you, but they're going to kick us off by starting with really talking about how you can hone in on your message and how you can communicate your business, your services, and all the things, and really leverage AI to customize and to create really compelling and converting content. So with that, I want to bring out and welcome Darby Rollins.
Thank you so much, Kelly. It's always great to see you and other people in the community joining us on these summits to learn and stay up to date with the latest and greatest stuff and advances with AI, and also realizing that there's tons of tools out there. It's impossible to cover all of them. And so we're going to be sharing today in this session and in future sessions a few tools that we use actively in our own workflows to create content, to produce content, to distribute content, and do so in a way that is aligned with where we want to be going as business owners and as leaders in our business that are creating this content. So I'm super excited today to welcome Todd in as well, who we met this past week as part of a mastermind that was hosted here in Austin. And we got to talking about what Todd is going to be doing. We'll get into that for a second. We'll give a little bit of context about what we're going to be covering during this first hour, and much of this hour is going to be rapid fire demonstrations and actually building out a studio inside of Pickax and then a Gamma to create a website for Todd that positions himself the way that he's looking to expand and grow in his business. So Todd, welcome. I'm going to add you up here as well so we can kick things off. And I would love to, if you mind, give people like kind of the high level overview of who you are, what you do, how we got connected, and like what we've been talking about covering on today's session as we kick things off here at the summit.
Yeah, thanks, Darby. I'm a communication coach, and I come from 30 years in live sports broadcasting with ESPN, Fox Sports, worked for the Dallas Cowboys, grew up on the sidelines of some of the world's largest stages, Super Bowls, national championships, and I'm based out of Dallas. And so I often jokingly say Michael Jordan once landed at my feet, and I was like, should I touch the hem of his garment? And so a unique background of grown and sold multiple businesses. All this genius that I've developed over years, the frameworks and the formulas for communication, they've all been done within organizations. And I think probably many people in this room here is there comes a time where it's time to come public, where you become freelance all of a sudden with this, whatever this level of genius that you've got, and it's time to unveil it. And so I'm in this free agent period where I'm like, you know what? I've been developing these things for other people. What would it be like to go all in on myself and really acknowledging what my real magic is and going all in? And that's communication coaching. What I do is I help people, leaders, speakers, and coaches become unignorable. And I help, just like a business has an SOP, I help people build a personal playbook, which becomes your communication SOP.
That's great. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today, and helping in that transition, because a lot of, like what you said, has been behind the scenes and making an impact, but not necessarily as a public facing person, that this is your brand and that you're going to be continuing to build and invest into. And you've already started the process, which is great. And so when we got to talking about what could a demonstration look like this, that I think would resonate with others in your position, where maybe you have a story, you have the experience, you have the knowledge, and you know how to make an impact, and now you're ready to take things to the next level. You've already created a custom GPT in ChatGPT. You already have the frameworks and the process and the results that back this up with the clients that you've worked with. You don't have to like name names if you don't feel comfortable with it, but can you talk a little bit about some of the types of clients that you've worked with and that you've helped over the years that maybe people can see it, that might be like me, or maybe I'm trying to get to that type of position. Like these are the types of people that you work with, and that this framework is going to be most applicable today, but also caveating that with that what we're going to show anybody here is how to take any kind of GPT that you've made with a chat GPT and build it into a custom studio that you can gate, that you can lock access to, whether it's free or whether it's just providing an email, so that you can actually like own the customers that are signing up and subscribing to access your knowledge and your experience. But maybe who are some of the examples of types of clients that you've worked with to date?
A little bit is the power is really in the journey, is when you recognize where that magic was. I had a client over a year ago, and so I work a lot with imposter syndrome and especially introverts, making them dynamite. And I had a client when I discovered the framework that really unlocked them. She said in the first meeting, she said, "Look, Todd, I need you to know I'm clinically diagnosed with social anxiety and I cannot speak in public." She was an accountant. And now she's a fractional CFO presenting reports to high level people because we unlocked something in her. Another client, Akbar Sheikh, he just spoke on Russell Brunson's stage last week or last month. And he said for the first time, he stomped his foot and yelled while he was talking because he felt alignment with a cause. He felt alignment with his mission, with his purpose. Something was resonating inside of him. And it's the transition of when you're not just giving a message, but you're fighting for a cause. And something triggers and switches in that moment. And he asked me to start teaching within his coaching group. And he was observing one of the coaching sessions I did. And he said, "You're spending a lot of time just digging out who this person is, what they're doing. There's a lot of pre-work to just get the background together." And he said, how can you speed that up so you can get to the real pivotal moments of the conversation? So that led me to just creating a custom GPT in chat, and it put my brain into it, the resources that I use, that I've learned from, the books that I've learned from, and just talked through how to have a coaching conversation with a person on building their cause and their unique method. And it's been great, but it's run into side effects. Because if that person doesn't have the paid account with ChatGPT, they run out of tokens. And so then they can't use the tool anymore. But those that are using the tool, I mean, they're finding magic, the same magic with it. So that's a little bit of the journey.
Yeah, that's great. And so what we're going to be doing today and what we're going to jump right into is how to take what you've already started as a structure and then put a little bit more of, I guess, like a studio wrap around it, where you have not just a ChatGPT account that has a GPT in it, but you have more control over it. You're going to be able to gate it, whether it's just giving people free access or charging a monthly subscription or charging per credits. There's a few ways that we can do that with Pickax. And for those that are here with us live right now, we'll have a session later on this afternoon where we'll be talking a little bit more about Pickax, and you'll have time for more questions and answers to engage with us on this. But I want to start the process now with, we met yesterday and basically said, okay, this is all the information that we need in order to make this next step actually work and function and actually go fast during this hour to show how we can translate a GPT into your own custom Pickaxe studio. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen, and we're going to kick things off.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this because these are things that felt like roadblocks that it would just make my brain hurt when I needed to create copy for the website, for example. But once the GPT learned who I was, then I could give the correct prompts, and it helped me even just really rapid fire create the necessary copy for the website even.
Yeah, and this isn't to say that you shouldn't use ChatGPT for anything. Like obviously we use ChatGPT all the time, and a lot of what we do, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever large language model you prefer to use, Pickaxe is actually model agnostic. And so you can use, and we'll show here as we're building this out, how you can select the different models, how you can modify the models, and how you can add more into that, as well as additional integrations that you can choose to explore if it makes sense for you. But this is just the first tool that we're going to be sharing today called Pickax. We've been using them for quite some time now, and we've built our own studios in there. We've monetized our client studios with them, creating some monthly recurring revenue from that, as well as just kind of lead magnets, so to speak, to give people access to a form, a report generator, that type of thing. But Pickaxe is a tool that allows you to scale yourself with a simple no-code platform to build, launch, and sell AI products. And so the first step whenever you get inside of a Pickaxe account and you open it up is to select the creation of a new studio. And so I'm going to call this studio Todd Walls so that we can keep our project bucketed, and then we can focus in on the studio. And then the studio, think of it as the house that you can walk into and pick up different pickaxes. You can pick up different tools. You can see the studio just got created right here. And those tools are different GPTs that have different functions, that have different outcomes that you want to train them to create. And so right now we've started a new studio. Within the studio, we can create different brand design. We can add users. We can create knowledge base. There's a lot that we can do in terms of adding in additional context that Pickaxe is going to continue building on. And so what Pickaxe look like right now might look different in a few weeks, depending on when you are watching this. But you can see even with the knowledge base, you can integrate things like your Notion, like your Google Drive, which also means you can have additional context, additional information, IP frameworks that you can have Pickaxe referencing. And so I'm going to start with creating a new Pickaxe. And what this Pickaxe is going to do is effectively replicate what we've built here, and what you've shared with me, Todd, is the personal playbook cause and method that people are currently using. We just want to take this and rebuild it in Pickaxe so that you can build on top of it and add more to the tool and more resources that your clients and customers are going to be using. So when we're in Pickaxe, the first thing that we're going to do is identify, first and foremost, what type of bot is this going to be? Is this going to be a chat bot where we're interactive, or is this going to be a form where we say, here's my name, here's my website, here's how I help people, and then it gives out an example or an output from what you're putting in there in the form of a Google form. Similarly, like it has inputs and then it's going to produce something output. Similar to how your ChatGPT interface looks, it's a chat-based interface. So I'm going to select chat because it is what you already built it in. That's what it already is looking at.
I'm a coach. I want it to feel like a coach.
Yeah. And so next thing we're seeing here is a blank page. Literally, it's a blank Pickaxe that we can build whatever we want right now into it. It's going to be AI powered. It's going to allow us to build your coaching bot out. And so you can see the role, which is going to be what the instructions that we provide. And you've already done the first step of this, which is building out what do those instructions look like and validate that they work with an AI program, with a large language model. Next thing is selecting which model you actually want to use. And like I said, Pickaxe is model agnostic. We have GPT-5, Gemini 2.5, Claude 4.1 Opus, Grok 4. This is a place where we want to eventually experiment and test and see which one is actually giving us the best results.
Right.
But just given the fact that we're already using ChatGPT and we know that's working, I'm just going to select GPT-5 as the model that we're going to start with. And then we'll continue from there. The next thing that we can do before we get into the setting up the role is selecting whether or not we want users to be able to upload files. I would venture to say in this case, we do want people to, because they're going to provide context about their business.
That's right.
So I'm going to say this tool only for right now, but you can update that. And actually all tools for each user. And so what this will do inside of your Pickaxe Studio, it'll have memories that it will build up about your users, similar to how memories work inside of ChatGPT, so that your threads aren't totally disconnected every time you start a new chat conversation.
Okay.
You can start to learn from itself for your users inside of their studio. We've also got the ability now to allow users to have their voice, which means that if I do and select that, I removed it, I turned it on. Notice in the bottom right-hand corner, the microphone. And I'm going to ask everybody to please mute yourself if you are joining here, and to stay on mute while we are recording. And image generation. Is image generation an important thing that we want to have even included or part of it, or is that kind of not really necessary? It might be a distraction in some case. Cool. So we're going to leave that off. Copilots to help your users create content, tools, and snippets. I don't use that for the pickaxes that I use currently because I think this has a little bit of a different place for like how you're building tools within Pickaxe, not as applicable to what we're looking at right here.
Okay.
So next thing I want to share with is the configuration. We're going to add a profile image, chat icon, and then select all the token links. We're going to add the knowledge base, and then there are certain things in terms of actions that we can also take to make this thing happen. But the real question that I want to get to as fast as possible right now is how do we just transfer that work that you've already done inside of Pickaxe? I'm going to share a link for those inside of our chat right now that you can follow how to do this on the Pickaxe blog for how to convert a GPT into a pickaxe. It's going to be a similar process. This is not rocket science. This is not some magic thing that only Darby knows how to do. This is a common thing that people who build ChatGPT things run into because they want to be able to do more and own more of their content inside of their own studio. And so for next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at our mission control over here inside of Google Drive and say, okay, this is what I asked you to put together, Todd, a custom GPT knowledge base. So I'm going to open this document up and I'm going to pick the name of it and say, okay, that's great. This is the name of my chatbot. So I'm going to go ahead, personal playbook, the cause and method. I'm going to go now to the description, just copying and pasting what you've already put this together. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. And then the last thing I want to do is in the instructions that you've provided, I'm going to copy these instructions. And the way that forms work in Pickaxe is a little bit different than the way bot versions of these look. And the only difference is there's just one place to put instructions here. And the forms
So
can
you
have
put the conversation starters and everything in the same spot?
I'm going to put that all right here. And I'm going to see there may be, let me see, generate icebreakers. No, let me see, example intro message. Yeah, so there's a few icebreakers that we can generate here. So let's like pick the top 3 that you'd want people to start with. Are there 3 on here that stand out immediately as the most important?
The top 3.
Okay, perfect. Perfect, easy. So I'm going to select the first one, copy paste it right there. I'm going to select the second one, copy paste it, and then I'm going to select the third one, copy paste it. And so as I'm doing this, notice on the right-hand side, what's happening. It's building out what my Pickaxe Studio is actually going to look like and operate. Okay. So I'm going to very quickly, now that I'm here, again, just to save your work as you go, I'm going to publish and close this Pickaxe and I'm going to open it right back up. I just want to make sure that I've got the basics of this Pickaxe tool set up right away. And then I'm going to open it back up and edit my Pickaxe. So now I've got my instructions here. We're not ready to start working with it just yet because we need to also give it knowledge about like all the information that you've given it that was giving it about your own frameworks and things of that nature. And so all of that was knowledge-based PDF books right here. And then did you include the personal playbook download template as part of the Pickaxe training, or is this a freebie that you were giving out? Or
This is the freebie that we'll use for the website.
Cool. So I've actually already gone through and downloaded all of the stuff inside of your knowledge base so that we've already got access to that and we can upload it very quickly just to be conscious of our time here at the summit.
It may be beneficial to also put that playbook template also in the knowledge base. I'm not sure if I gave it my actual formulas when I loaded the.
Yeah, do it. Let's do it. And then any time that we're in a Pickaxe, we say, hey, I want you to reference this playbook whenever you want to, whenever this situation comes up, and then the AI will reference that playbook within its knowledge base.
Okay.
But now the next thing I want to do is actually give my Pickaxe the understanding of everything here by giving it knowledge. So I'm going to connect my files now, select add, upload files, and I don't know if you can actually see all the files that I'm pulling up here, if it's showing a blank screen right now. But basically, I'm just going to copy all of those that I downloaded just 10 minutes prior to us hopping on here. I'm going to select open. And now you can see it's literally ingesting all of this knowledge. And the technical term that's happening right now inside of Pickaxe is it's vectorizing all of this information so that it is basically translating it so that the AI large language model will like know what to find and where, and like finding all this information inside of its AI brain that we're building right now. So it takes a minute to go through here. And so while it's all loading up right now, there's one other thing that we need to do is there's a few other things that we need to do, but one of them is find your logo and brand it with your logo and add that logo in. So we've got your logo here. I'm going to download
Mhm.
it. I'm going to jump back into my Pickaxe, and we can see it's already done about half of them. Give it another
Mhm.
few minutes. And so while it's doing that, scrolling down to the knowledge settings, we have relevance cutoff, how much information do we want to be pulled, and any additional context. This is important, especially if you are giving it highly detailed information that you only want Pickaxe to pull from, or if you also want it to pull from other sources like scanning the web and doing things like that. And kind of the default is 60, but if we wanted to make it always use the knowledge base as always its form of context, we could
Okay.
slide that scale all the way over here. We could keep it like use knowledge base when needed. And then again, it's like never use the knowledge base. And so at what kind of
Oh,
point in this scale do you think that you want this AI to reference
one of
knowledge
the
base?
one of the elements I asked the person going through it to do is what's their character persona that really characterizes their voice? Who would play them in a movie, for example? And to put it then puts their wording in that voice. So it needs to be able to reach out and get enough information if that person chooses Chris Pratt, for example.
Okay, so I think we're probably going to land around the 40% mark. We can always slide this and adjust it as needed. And I see a question coming through about, can you show the format of the knowledge that you're uploading? Much of the knowledge in this case are straight up PDF documents because they were PDFs, they were books, they're large amounts of context. That's what you have access to, Todd. Other form of type of file that I would recommend, like uploading into here if we had additional context that was more like here's like a 3-page brief that I wanted to include an upload. Instead of uploading a Google like document file or a Word document, actually like downloading those as .txt will help ingest the knowledge and the vectorization of it a
As
little bit
opposed to
better.
PDF.
Yes, actually. And that's from my understanding of how I've learned it as well through the Pickaxe team and how the AI actually ingests that information. The .txt files tend to like help with seeding that information a little bit more effectively. And so
Okay.
there may be some ways to do that, but at the same time, a lot of these PDFs are going to be just fine for giving as the starting point of documents. But
And
the
I pulled those books
yeah,
from Ocean of PDFs, and they just asked for a donation.
yeah. So Ocean of PDFs is a solid resource where you can go and find PDFs for basically almost any book out there.
Yeah, any book.
And so they've already ingested themselves into the knowledge base. We have it filled with PDFs right now. And the next thing I want to ask is how much information should be pulled per query. So right now it defaults to 750 as a short article, but you may want your Pickaxe to think a little bit longer whenever it's asked information. So we can, again, all this stuff is worth testing. I'm going to
Okay.
say, let's just say 50,000 or 25,000 is like the top of it. And then calling your attention to the bottom right-hand corner, we have 34,786 out of 399,000 like tokens of context that we're able to provide. The other place that this is relevant is when we go to configuration. One, I'm going to upload that logo that we just provided, but that we just downloaded. I'm going to add a chat icon of the same logo right here. And so now we have this chat icon. And so now it's got your logo inside of the studio. You can add a chat placeholder text, like what would you like to talk about? If that's something, if you want the starting conversation to be like, tell me about your cause or method or something else, easy to change just right here. You can see as I'm typing it, it's adding additional, like just a placeholder text. And so that is where you would update that information. The next thing on the configure page is the token length. So we have max output length, short essay versus like how long do we want the output to be? Sometimes it's really AI can just give you these really long-winded, super like
Mhm.
that's too much information. I just asked you what's the best dog food near me, and it gives you like an article or something like this, like way too much information. But in some cases, you want it to give very thorough, long, detailed outputs. And so in this case, maybe we want this output length it to be a little bit more, maybe want it to be less. Is there like a general sort of like output length that you find is where you want to hit the mark
Out of
at?
curiosity, where do these levers measure against just a default for chat for a
Uh,
GPT?
I don't know because you can't control this as much
Yeah,
as
exactly. That's what was
ChatGPT.
interesting about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you could give it a prompt to say keep all of your prompt like answered in this sort of format, and it may or may not follow that. But here's where you can put an additional guardrail on to do that. So if we wanted to maybe just say 2,500, okay, we can add that's like a short essay. Max input length is important because if you want to prevent people from overly sharing and saying, give me in 2 sentences, what is this? But you want that to be across the board, you might make this 100 for the max input length. But that could also like
They could keep going. Yeah.
throttle people. And so you might be like, you know what? I don't care. I want people to give me as much information as they
Yeah.
want every time. So I might be like, oh, that's going to be 50,000 characters.
The person themselves will throttle. Some people have a lot of words, some people don't.
Yeah, so let's just open it up so that there's not a real limitation here. Just it ends up being an issue. This is where you adjust the input length, and then the memory buffer. And I'm trying to see if we can zoom in here. Set the amount of conversation that your chatbot will remember beyond the length of existing training dialogue. And so again, what's the memory buffer for it? I think in this case, we actually kind of want it to be more, so it's going to just remember as much as possible around the conversational thread. And so I'm going to say 100,000. So it's going to remember the like context about up to a whole short book that they're putting into here. Again, you
Yeah.
can always come back in here. You can always adjust it as you're testing it, but this is getting it set up at that point. And then we also have training dialogue. And this is, we won't spend a lot of time on this here, but what this is a way to give the chatbot examples how it should respond. So for the example, if you give 3 examples of one word response, it's going to reinforce that idea the chatbot should respond with 1 word. And so if you really want to like really lock in how it's going to be responding to certain things in certain situations, this is where we can add additional dialogue. User input, oh, I'm
Okay.
a thought leader coach. Response should always be, okay, nice. Or okay,
Mm.
oh, I'm a health and fitness coach. And it's, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that information with me. Like whatever one you want, if you really have a preference towards how the AI is responding, this is where you can train more and more of that dialogue. And you can spend a lot of time on that because of the types of questions, inputs and outputs, but it can really personalize it over time. It does take time to set up. And then the last thing on this page is the creativity. So we have randomness, default is 0.8. I like to add it to 0.7. I find that just is the one that I tend to default it with. But again, explore which ones may or may not work best for you. And then like word biases. Do you have like specific words and phrases that you want it to use and then words to avoid? If you hate the word guru or you never want it to refer to something as a, I don't know, make up whatever you don't want it to use. You never want to use the word like thriving, or you never want to use the word
Yeah.
delve, or you never want to use the word this. You can add these words to avoid to give it guardrails as to
Mm.
what you don't want it to do. So all of that said, the last tab on here is actions. And this is where you basically can give your Pickaxe Studio more tools that the AI can have access to. And that's things like OpenAI web search. If you have your OpenAI key, this tool built into the Pickaxe, you can add your API key here and it will go and use your API to go and kind of give it that superpower. Same thing with MCP servers. And we won't get into the details of MCP servers, but if you had a Zapier MCP server, for example, set up already that had access to your Salesforce or your Go High Level MCP, and then your Google Drive and Notion and all of the other tools that you use, you could upload one of those MCP servers here to your Pickaxe, and then it would then have the ability to communicate with your Zapier MCP, or maybe you use make.com, or maybe you use N8N, depending on what level of like how you're developing with these tools and building out these servers. I mean, we'll have other videos on that on our channel. Then you also see the community actions, adding in Google search, adding in 11 Labs voice. And with the inclusion of MCP, which is relatively new, it was about a month or so ago that Pickaxe announced the MCP integration, that really opens up the door to be able to communicate with all these other platforms that are adopting the Model Context Protocol, which is what MCP stands for. And so all of that said, I'm going to do one more thing, update and close so that my screen doesn't crash and I lose all the work that I just, and then I'm going to jump right back in and we can see how this pickaxe is actually working. So I'm going to say, help me build my personal cause as a conversation starter. And so what we can see here, pickaxe is thinking, 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 giving a little bit of time is something you want. And again, now the basics of the studio are set up. Love it. Let's start simple. What would a normal day in life look like? Work out beautifully for you morning or night. Paint me the small details. Where do you want to wake up? What you're working on, who you're with, energy you feel. Okay. So, and really, this is more of a matter of tossing the ball back to your court, Todd, saying, like, this is how you want it to start with responding to opening that conversation and walking it through this process. So, and we don't have to go through the entire thing right here. So now we're going to start working on the testing, but does this look like how you'd want it to start with a response here?
Yeah, as it in the actual chat GPT, it starts with building the person's personal vision. So who get really building context on the person, then moves to the customer in the next aspect. So it's trying to create a personal cause and a vision statement, and then a customer cause as the next phase.
Cool. Yeah. And so like in the coaching process of this tool is something that you obviously would share and how to demonstrate people to use it. And then you'd give them this tool as a resource to be able to go and effectively do. And so now we've got the skeleton filled with all of the knowledge inside of its brain that we had in ChatGPT, but now all we have, not all we have in a bad way, but what we have is now a studio linked to a pickaxe that anyone can now access here and see, like with a direct studio link, this is now an interactive chat GPT bot that you can now control whether or not you want to add a Claude integration instead of OpenAI, if you want to use Gemini, if you want to use any of the other tools. You can also see the response history. So as people that you're working with are getting coached through this, you can see how people are engaging with your bot and how they're doing that. So the next thing I want to share is access. So we're here. Currently, it's a public. And then there's also private that you can do where it's invite only. And you see the private ones used. I see them more often used if it's like a closed chatbot that's like exclusive for people inside of their coaching program or maybe a mastermind group. You can also take payments, which is we talked about before. We won't be setting this up right now, but it's just a matter of connecting it with your Stripe. So
if I wanted to put it behind a gate.
Yeah. And we will do that, but we'll also gate it just behind an email out the gate and giving people limited access if they want to get a taste of it. And then they can upgrade for either unlimited. But you see the upgrade message, you've reached your limit right here. Now for guest settings, you can give, let's say 5 credits. That's going to get 5 conversations back and forth with the AI before it says, hey, you need to create an account to go further. And that account might require a 20, a 30, a 50, $100 a month subscription, or it could just be a free thing for now until you're ready to put a gated paywall behind it. But now what you want to do is when you are going to be creating a paywall is create a product. And I'll say Todd Wall just for the product. Let's call this, say this is, let's just say $30 a month for right now. And then Todd Wall GPTs. And then you're going to give credits inside of this sort of paywall. Now, this is how you would set up the paywall once you have the Stripe like getting going. So it's not going to let me set this up until we set up the Stripe. So for now, I'm just going to make it free and say, okay, this is how many credits people get for free a month if they're using this. And so that could be 50, that could be 100, that could be 1,000 credits a month. And but the access, I'm going to publish this product so that users can access it. And I'm going to open it real quick. Access, you can see the users that do have access to this product, which is obviously nobody right now. And the locked tools. This is important because if you don't do this locked tool, then it's just going to be a paywall for unlocking nothing because it doesn't have any tools. So I will go ahead and select that personal playbook GPT pickaxe that we made. I'm going to save that product. And then I'm going to go down to settings. Todd Wall. I'm going to update the profile picture for the setting. Mail to Todd-Wall@mail.studio. It should be like where people get notifications when they transact or subscribe to your studio. Easy to change. You have toddwall.com. We could connect that domain. Probably won't do it right now, but you have studio.toddwall.com where you can send anybody to. and then they can access this Pickaxe inside of the
Oh,
studio.
wow.
There's also the ability when you're on the Pickaxe Pro plan to do more with the custom model and the APIs. But the domain setup is very simple and straightforward. Again, we won't get into the technical setup of that, Todd. We can do that after this call. But it's basically, if you want it to be studio.toddwall.com,
Essentially,
anybody.
can you create it as a separate page on the main website?
Yeah,
Is
so
that what
you
it
have
is?
toddwall.com, and then toddwall.com/studio could just
Oh,
redirect
I
to
see. That's great.
this, and
Yeah.
then yeah, you'd be set. So I'm going to draw your attention now to the thing at the bottom of this left-hand sidebar, which is the website editor. So I'm going to click this. This is where we want to customize it a little bit more. So this is the basic website that Pickaxe will start you with. I'm going to go to edit brand design. Let me see where this takes me, actually. So now I'm in the brand design right here. So I have a little bit of ability to customize this, how I want it to look. You can see the themes, Pickaxe Light, Pickaxe Dark, Draper, Pulse. There's a few different styles, a few different vibes that we can go with here. We can add different primary colors. You can have different, where is like different fonts for what's like how the fonts are displaying here. So you can have a little fun with setting up what this would look like as a homepage and as a website hero image. The other thing that you can do is change what this hero image looks like. We can also remove the need for that hero image right out the gate. Just again, like this is where you can have a little fun with setting it up and customizing it. You have the website, see the chat right here. I can select different pages on here, and you can see this color, that kind of purple. Maybe you want that to be the main theme of it, or maybe you want to use that darker, deeper blue that your background is more like aligned with, right? And you've already given me that information from your Canva. And so you gave me access to your Canva. I'm going to go to your Canva brand board. Again, if those of you that use Canva, you can set up brand boards so that you do this once and then you have all of your colors basically just like right here. And then you can go back into your Pickaxe and add that color. So now we have a nice blue branded, very simple touch, but that makes it more, it looks like your background that you're at right now. And so we have the brand out there. You can change some more of the typing, the fonts, that sort of thing. I'm going to apply these changes and I'm going to go back to the website home and I'm going to click white label so that we have don't have the Pickaxe content showing up here. Let me see what else we can do on this home page to make this a little bit more on point. Yeah, so that's the brand, right? And so now that we've got the brand set up, I'm going to go back to the studio landing page, left-hand sidebar, edit page. Let's go to the hero section. I don't have a picture that I would do right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and just do that. Welcome to Todd Wall. And then we can change this copy, have it be whatever very easily now at this point. We don't really need these rich text markdowns right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete a few of these sections just because it's extra.
But I could put more instructions there if I wanted to.
You could put more instructions. You can embed YouTube videos with HTML. You can add additional like sections and layers that will either embed specific pickaxes. If I wanted to do a pickaxe embedding,
Oh, so I could do a video explanation even, but it has to be HTML, not like a YouTube link or.
yeah, I think it's got to be an HTML framework, and then it would just ask ChatGPT to do that for you. So if I'm like personal playbook, okay, great. We got the personal playbook. And now the pickaxe is embedded right here on the front page. And like it's right out the gate. This pickaxe is the first thing that people could see. And again, we can play around this. You can play around this. You knock yourself out and, the cows come home and
Yeah.
you spend all weekend doing it if you really want to. Or you just get started. Where is my pickaxe? You might be asking yourself that question as I am right now. And so the other thing that I want to make sure that we have is once we're here, we don't need the pickaxe listing right now. Delete section. Actually, I'm just going to do this. We can always add that back in. You can say, boom, first page, main page of your website is basically going to be like that pickaxe that we talked about. And so like at this point, I'm going to save this pickaxe. this is like the only GPT that we have right now. And so I'm just giving people basically
Mm-hmm.
like direct access to what that looks like. Now, all we need to do is connect your domain to have this not say pickaxe studio.pickaxe.co. But now I have your GPT embedded right here on your Pickaxe Studio. It's got your brand colors, it's got your logo. It is a starting point of what you can build on and to start having people engage and interact with it like directly here within your studio. But this studio and this Pickaxe right now is one of the resources that you're going to be providing people as you're
Mm-hmm.
helping them with getting results and getting what you teach and putting it into action.
Yeah.
Also missing like a website for all of this type of stuff, right? How are you going to
Mm-hmm.
be even marketing yourself? Well,
Right.
that is where another one of the tools I wanted to share quickly, as we have about 13 minutes left until our next keynote speaker jumps on stage, is how do you now take this tool that we just spent all this time creating? And when I was saying the time to create this was, you saw in about 30 minutes, we were able to take the instructions that we had, the knowledge base, and set up a basic Pickaxe studio. This is a starting point. There's still more that we can do and build on from here. But what's the point in putting this studio together? People don't even know who like Todd is, or like how are they going to even find you in the first place? One of your strategies is going to be YouTube and getting out there and speaking more and getting on stages. And people can already book you
Mm-hmm.
to get on stages. People can
Mm-hmm.
already hire you to teach them and coach them and train them. But I went to your website that you sent me that your email was about, and I said, Todd, like you don't have a website. Like I don't even know what you do. And we got to change that, right? Especially with the new positioning that you're going to be
Yeah.
coming into the market with. And I want to show you guys in part of this last segment of this first hour for this session of the Scale with AI Summit, September 2025, is how fast now we can take this idea, we can take how you want to be seen and positioned out there. And now how do we take that and then very quickly get it into a visual presentation that we can put onto our website that people can start to learn, that we can start to learn from who you are, what we do. And let me see. I see a question, Wayne. I have a Pickaxe account. The link you shared here won't open. It only says I need to sign up for Pickaxe. Am I doing something wrong? I'm not sure. Go ahead and check that link that I just reshared again and let me know if that's doing anything weird. That link should just bring you straight to the page that I'm sharing right now. But again, we may or may not have time to troubleshoot on today's call on this hour, but I will be hanging around this afternoon and doing it like that. Yeah, so that's what everything is set up. Yeah, cool. So after you guys use like 5 credits, for example, on this, it'll probably prompt you to say, hey, if you want to keep using this, create an account. You'll create an account, you'll enter your email, and then that will basically activate your account to get, I think we set it at 50 credits for a free account right now. And then you could use the tool and additionally from there to work with the stuff that Todd has built right now. But next thing I want to do is go over to this Todd Wall website copy document that you put together for me. Thank you, Todd.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got uh, your what's the word here? Color scheme that we're going to
Mm-hmm.
be building on. And then we have like website copy. We were using ChatGPT to build this out. And so what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and copy the framework for the website right now. Speaker topics right here. And next thing I'm going to do is open up Gamma, not Google Gamma. I'm going to actually go to Gamma. And I'm going to go ahead inside of my Gamma account, click Create New. For those of you that don't know Gamma, tune in with us here this afternoon at noon. We're going to do a live session with the Gamma API. It's going to be great. We're going to be talking about ways to automate all sorts of stuff with Gamma. For right now, the most powerful, simplest, fastest way to get started with Gamma is go to gamma.app and you can get started for free. And you can select paste in text, which is where I like to start when I already have spent time creating an outline that I know I want to follow. And you've done that, Todd. You create the outline, you had all the sections with it. I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste that here into the outline, but I want to click web page. And then I want to select, let's just say preserve this exact text. All right, so now, again, we're going from Todd having no website that's saying this to like being very early on in the transition to going more public with what he's doing, to using Gamma to take the information that we've already done and spent time researching. It's creating a card by card, like basically like breakdown of all the stuff that you're going to be doing. And now what do we want to do here?
One thing I'm going to find that's going to be interesting in that first top card, there was 2 options of copy. So as either this or this. I'm interested to see.
Which one do you want? Because we don't want to confuse the AI with this and we can rerun it again and again, but which one do you want to keep?
The first version. We'll just do, yeah. So there's an or on a third line.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to delete that. Cool. And I'm going to go quickly into themes because the visual aspect of this is really important. As Gamma is great for a lot of stuff, as well as setting up custom themes. So if you have a brand, if you have a style guide already in place, you can create a custom theme that is really dialed into what your brand is going to be looking like and presented like every time. You can also go to standard, where Gamma and their team have put together a ton of different examples, and they're coming up with new templates all the time. And so I'm going to quickly scan through here, Todd. Is there anyone?
Didn't you also mention even being able to pull off of my other existing website?
Yes. And so what that was for, was that for the color that you were talking about? Or
I don't know. I'm just kind of talking out loud with you to see what's possible.
Yeah. So if you have another website, which actually I think I pulled that one up. That is right here. You had another website where it was just positioned for something differently. And so we can see how the website looked. I don't know where you built this app, but there's a lot that we can do in just looking at this from like a visual standpoint. But if you want to keep this same kind of theme for what Gamma looks like, I would select a theme that is going to model that sort of color scheme and approach here, and then we could get it dialed in. And so Stratos might look good. We want to match your blue. And so let me scroll down here. There's a blue one, a little bit darker color right there. Maybe not blue steel.
Yeah, that's just my personality is blue steel.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, let's roll with it. We can always change it. This is the best thing about Gamma. Is like you don't have to spend 2 or 3 hours building a website out now with Gamma. Get the first version out there, get it locked in for what you want it to be looking like, and then let's go ahead and take things the rest of the way from there. And for this, I'm actually going to just select no AI images, because that's something that you want to get like really clear with what you want your style guide and stuff to look like. But also, I didn't notice a ton of images jumping out on your other website. Just keep it simple, right? No images, blue steel. We don't want to say like top of fold right here or anything like that. Speaker topics, cool. Let's go ahead and generate it, right? Leanne Stone makes a great comment here. I asked chat to pull the colors from a website, then customize them as a brand style guide it creates. It's a great approach to extracting and getting your brand style guide in. And I see Emma, you can bring in your own brand colors as well. Yes, having chat, you give it a website, scan it, give it an image, create a brand style guide for me, and then use that as a way that you can customize your brand templates is great. This blue is actually on point with what your other website looked like, Todd. And I'm going to show you how we can very quickly modify some of the colors in here to get it really locked in. But the cool thing about Gamma now, once you create a website, you can also connect a domain directly to Gamma and have it populate on toddwall.com right on this page. We can also take the published version of this page and embed it onto a Webflow, a WordPress, a Go High Level site as an iframe to display the actual site right then and there on a website that you already have created. And so that's how people use Gamma pages to create the web page, and then they'll just embed them onto an existing color page.
It's crazy what it's creating just on the speaker topics and just how creatively it's.
Yeah, Gamma is going to town right now.
It's loving my speaker topics.
This is what John says. This is great. A blue iron curtain. And yeah, like this is now, once you get like 80% of the way there with it, it's like, cool. Like now we can customize it. Maybe we want to add a few yellow accents here and there that are really going to make it pop, but not be the dominating color. But I mean, we
add in images of my own choosing.
Yeah, and so it's doing this right now. I see bio pictures. So we got 3 minutes. We're coming up to crunch time. I'm not going to take time away from Jeff because he's got some awesome stuff he's going to be covering here today. And so
176 or 816. Oh, you're
no. Let me see. 176. What'd you say?
Yeah, 176.
I don't know which one that is.
Oh,
which one am I looking at here? Which one? Do you know?
It just has those numbers at the end.
618. This one?
No, 816. You can flip through, you can pick anything at this point.
Let's do this one, right? 771. I'm just going to download it, show you guys as you're building these sites out, like Gamma gets the structure in place. It's all good there. But about Todd Wall, I'm like, oh, that's nice, but I want it, people need to know who Todd is, right? Todd's a good looking guy. We want to make sure that he's got a smiling face on here. Oh, it's a maximum image needs to be smaller than 200 megapixels. See, we just ran into a constraint where maybe we need to actually find a smaller image to
Hmm.
use in here. So let me see this. I'll try one more. That's a good one. Nice high fives all around. Let's see if this one is going to be at a good enough size for us to use. If not, again, all right. Looks like the images are a little bit too large.
Yeah.
Take a screenshot to lower the resolution. It's a great tip to show like how we can get creative with this on the fly. Let me do that real quick. I'm gonna do my screen capture here. I'm just going to download it super fast. Coming up on time. We got 2 minutes left. This is crunch time for how fast we can get a website out with Gamma. But this is just to show you guys the possibilities of it. So now we got about Todd Wall. Boom. We got Todd. We got, let's say, one more image of Todd. You know, again, you can easily come in here and change all of these, right? So boom, Todd, download, save, and boom. Now we got images in here. We're putting a little personality behind your websites, not just a blank thing. We got images add the
Got
problem, the
that blue
ramble, the
curtain.
words. You've got videos on your YouTube. We're not going to have time to get into the script right now for
Mhm.
editing. That maybe is another time for another summit, another workshop. But now we have your whole website framework is right here. It's as simple as clicking publish. Your website's going to go live. You can also select in the little top right sidebar when you go into logos and customizations, you can start to customize this with the actual primary accent images, color images,
Mhm.
fonts, logos, design. Like we've already talked about our logo before. It's 11 o'clock, so I'm going to wrap things up right now because Jeff's going to be taking the stage. But Todd, you now have the working bones of a full Pickax studio that you can send people to and start working people
Mhm.
through, start having people subscribe to it. We can work on a paid subscription as well outside of this call. And then now we can publish.
That's
And
magic.
it feels like magic, doesn't it? There's so much
Hmm.
more Gamma can do. You guys should join us at the next Gamma session here this afternoon in about
Hmm.
an hour from now. And I'm going to share. This is what we were able to create in what 13 minutes. With you guys can check out that site right there. Todd, thank you for putting yourself out there, for organizing
Yeah.
this content, for coming on stage and being willing to share what you're doing, what you're building, and letting me help get the process moved along a little bit further down the road. Let's connect outside of this to talk a little bit about what next steps look like for getting your domain added into it. But all in all, Todd, thanks again. And I hope you guys found
Loving
some
it.
of that useful, those demonstrations for Pickaxe and Gamma.